Okay, let's go live. This is James speaking. Today, what I want to do is if you're using ChatGPT to create online courses, marketing materials, anything to do with your education business, I'm betting that you've run into this situation where you make a prompt and you get something back and you go, that has nothing to do with what I was asking about. So you provide a task and it gives you this stuff back and you go, man, that's not what I want. Um, when you're using tools like ChatGPT and Claude, any of the AI tools, they kind of depend on two things. Or normally I run into two problems, and this pre-prompt I'm going to give you hopefully removes and or reduces one of those problems. What are the problems I'm talking about? Well, there's, I think technically the AI people call them hallucinations. That's the first one, and that's when you get responses that just maybe sound right to the AI tool, but to the person that's making the prompts or the requests, it has nothing to do with it. It's just way out of context. And then the second one is having any of the responses actually sound like you, as opposed to sound like an AI responded to a prompt that you made. Now, if you missed it, last week I did a YouTube video, a video up, and I'll put the links below, but I did a video up on how you can make your responses a little more friendly and sound human by using what's called a video profile. And that video was about analyzing all of your videos and written documents and things that you've done before and creating a profile that you could use or give ChatGPT when you were creating scripts or anything that had to do visually, so that it came across as something that was more you as opposed to ChatGPT. And that's for video profile. But I was looking at some of the other stuff that I'd done and I was recognizing that, hey, whenever I'm actually creating or working with ChatGPT, I spend a lot of time at the front of it or at the start of any conversation trying to give it context, like who's it for? What business am I in? What are the problems that people are having? And I ended up having to repeat the same kind of context story each and every time I was doing something. So I put together a prompt that creates a context profile that I can use, and every time I go to use or do a chat or have a conversation with a tool, I can use that context profile to completely sidestep all of those warm-up prompts and stuff that has been doing in the past. Now, I want you to think of it as like if you go to a smorgasbord where you've got 1,000 different plates to choose from, and you've got Italian food and Indian food and Mexican food and whatever kind of other styles of food, French cuisine and Japanese food, you've got all these different styles. Remember, ChatGPT, when you give it a task or ask it to do something, it's got all of those foods to choose from. And it has to guess, well, were you meaning the Chinese food here, or were you talking about the pasta over in the Italian section? It has to do a lot of work to figure out which one relates to what it is that you're doing. When you give this context profile, you're telling it, it's like, hey, only look in the Italian food section. Don't worry about the other ones. And the person that's in the Italian food section, they only like pastas. They don't like pizza. They only want the pastas. And they only like red sauces. So it's getting very specific so that any of the responses that it provides are specific to the person, their likes, dislikes, and what it is they're looking for. And when you do that, ChatGPT knows exactly where it should look, and any of the responses that it gives are based on that particular area, not all over the place. So I put this prompt together so that I can use to have a standard profile or context that I can use in any prompt. Now, there's a hidden benefit to this. I don't know if I want to call it hidden, but there's a benefit to this that I really appreciate because I use these tools a lot. The first one is that it means when I have one profile, it means if I create a course or a lesson in one chat, as an example, and I explain the lesson and the chat and who it's for there, maybe I come back the next day and I'm doing another lesson in another chat and I have to go through the same process again. But when I'm doing it, what's happening is I'm going, here's how I explain it in one lesson, here's how I explain it in another one. It's not the same. So when you do that, or you have this profile or context profile, especially if you're doing course content or any of those things, you end up in a situation where it's working off the same context every time. And what that means is that whenever you do a prompt, you're getting similar results each time for each lesson or each piece of the content you create. So it creates a whole bunch of real consistency for you. The next thing is that it's fast. I found at the beginning of any of the prompts that I was doing, it was like you spend 4 or 5 minutes brainstorming and clarifying and warming up and just trying to get, ChatGPT to go, oh yeah, I get it. I understand where you're coming from. I understand your perspective. I understand the limitations. I understand all of this. But it took 5 or 6 different prompts and clarifications and stuff just to get there, even before I could ask it to do something. So here's the prompt. Here's how it works. And we'll go through how you can actually create it. I have it marked in 4 steps here. Of course, it's on the trainingsites.io site. If you haven't already, make sure to go to trainingsites.io/join. It's free to join the community. All of these prompts are available here, plus a whole bunch of other great information on how to start, build, and grow your education business. So that's there for you. So here we go. Here's from the prompt library. One of the things I have is just scroll down this one. It's 4 steps, technically 2 prompts, but 4 steps. So I'll just show you how to use this. The first one is to use the pre-prompt. So this is a prompt that me, as the user, is going to give ChatGPT to start off. And remember, what we're doing is we're creating a profile. So I'm not asking for ChatGPT to do something in a chat about, building lessons and stuff like that. This is a prompt that I use to create a profile that I can use as a piece of information in any other further chats that I have about any other marketing tasks or things about my campus that I want to work on. So here's what this first one does. It says, I'll just highlight it for you so that you have it. It says, I want to create a reusable context profile that I can use to start any conversation with this AI tool. Should include detailed information, and then it's got a whole bunch of things about, what it's looking for. And it says, please ask me a series of specific questions to gather, and I've got 8 things that I want to gather. So these 8 things are just, and again, you can change this or update it if you want. These are the 8 I came up with. And basically what it is, this is the one that says, who's it for? What are they running into? What is it they want to accomplish? What's the transformation they're working towards? What knowledge or skill level? What kind of format do they like to learn in? So it's 8 different steps. You can read through them and figure out, yeah, this is something I agree with. This is something I don't need. But it's going to ask you these when you type this in, and you're going to have to respond to these. So you're going to put it in. I'll show you what that kind of looks like. And I'm here actually in ChatGPT. I'm just in a regular chat. And I basically just posted it in earlier. And that's copied and pasted in. And what ChatGPT did is it gave a response and it said, to create your reusable context profile, I'll ask a series of specific questions to cover all the necessary aspects. Please answer each question in as much detail as possible. Now, it's going to ask me 8 things here. And the reason it's asking 8 is because I used the 8 here, right? But if you had additional ones that were here, they would show up here. Now, when I did this, ChatGPT gave me some additional pointers or things to think about. So this is a good kind of exercise for you over and above, actually getting the context profile, but it's easier and it's a good time for you to revisit, who am I doing this for? What are the big challenges? Has the market changed? Has the way they consume information changed? Do they like a certain kind of content better than the other? Are they looking more for written content or templates or videos or audio? So this is a good thing just to go through to update that profile or that main customer avatar, the context of their business and your business and what you're trying to do to help them. So take some time and go through those, and you're going to have to answer the questions and have them available, which is the next step. And next step here says you answer the AI's questions, and it says respond to the questions, ask in as much detail as possible. Now I just did up in the example I was showing, I just did up some of the examples, and this is a real simple one just to show for the demo. You can answer as much and as in much detail as possible or as little. It's up to you, and you can add or remove the answers that you give. But just remember, if you remove context here, it's like saying, okay, well, you can do Italian and Japanese food. Or if you don't make it very specific, it's Mexican food, Japanese food, and Italian food. So the less detail you put in here, the more choices that are available, right? So here's the ones that I put in, and I just very, very simple. Adults looking to start an online course, help them create, market their first course. Very, very, very generic kind of responses. So what I did there is I answered the questions and then I just pasted them in here. I said, here are my answers. And I added a little something different. I said, confirm that you understood them and ask me for clarifications. Now, I put that in because the way I explain something, maybe it's not completely understood by ChatGPT. And more importantly, maybe I forgot something. And when I did this, I just copied and pasted the answers I had. And then look what happened. I got a response here. It says, got it. Here's a summary of the answers to ensure that I understood it correctly. And it did. It basically regurgitated what I gave it. But here's the part that I found that was interesting. Questions for clarification. See, I was talking about creating an online course, for example. If I'm creating an online course, I'm creating course content, but what are some of the areas that I didn't put down in my answer? And look what it came up with. Content scope, it said, should the course outline focus on content creation or should it include technical setup, marketing materials, for example? So it's saying, you thought of this, you gave this, do you want to include these other things in your Chinese food example or Italian food? Do you want to look at the other dishes or are you just looking at pasta right now? There's other Italian foods you could try, but you could just, do you want to do pasta? Do you want to do something else? Yes or no, include it. So it asked me that to clarify it. The second thing was, it says, you're doing courses, do you want to use or have the responses about a particular platform? So if you're, delivering your online courses from Kajabi or School or Circle or Heartbeat or LearnDash or Fluent Community, any of these platforms, do you want to keep it focused on that or do you want it so the responses are for any LMS or any delivery platform? And then it also said, are there any examples, tools, or frameworks that you want to use? So it asked me for some clarification. It just said, you know what? Here's some other things maybe you didn't answer that you might want to consider. So what did I do from there? What I did is I went to step 3, and step 3 is a second prompt that I make now. And I said, based on my answers, create a reusable context profile that I can use as special instructions at the start of future conversations. The profile should include, and it gives the 8 points, similar to the 8 points, and it says, make sure the profile is clear, concise, and written in a way that I can copy and paste it in as a special instruction for future use. If any is unclear, highlight it and suggest how I could refine it. So all I did is I copied that, and when I went back to ChatGPT, I just started at the front. I said, include the additional scopes you requested. The platform I'm using is WordPress and LearnDash. So I took some of the little recommendations it made and I said, you know what, I better include these. And then I just pasted in the prompt that I had to finally create my context profile. So I just agreed with some of the recommendations it made, totally agree with it. And then I said, you know what, let's run it. And when you run it, what I got was, here's your reusable content. So now I have a context profile that I can use every time that I go and start a conversation about a course, any material that I'm talking about in my education business. This is kind of my lane that's picked. So anytime I do any kind of conversation now, if I put in this beforehand as a special instruction, and I'll show you how to do this, or at least start with this, ChatGPT knows, it says, if I give you a response back from something you asked me to do, I'm going to follow these instructions and only make sure that it's in this preferred format, that it's a specific task we're looking at, that it's at a certain knowledge level, tone and style, who the audience is, and any response that I give is going to fit this context. So from here, all you need to do is you copy it, put it off to the side because you now have this and you can start any conversation with it. Now, here's the cool part. Let's go open up Claude, for example, and I'll show you why this one's kind of neat and why I use it in tools like Claude. So I'll open up Claude on this one, and this one I'll just do a new project so we have. Now, if you don't know what a project is Claude, I like Claude for doing projects because one of the things that it does is it allows you to have I think of it as a course, and then I have individual chats as lessons. So I can go and have one project for one course, and I can have 10 chats or however many lessons, and each of those individual chats can be related to the course and share the same instructions and the same research materials or resources available. So in this particular case, I'll do a new one up just so that we have it so you can see what happens. And I'm going to do, just going to, again, this I think this is available for everyone now. This is the paid version of Claude. ChatGPT does this as well. I think they call it profiles. Yeah, projects. They call it projects. And this one is projects as well. So I'm just going to do, I'm just going to call it context profile course, just as an example. And I'm going to put some text in here so I can open it. I'm going to create the project. Okay, so I now have got a project, and in a couple of the other videos, if you haven't seen Claude before, what it allows you to do is upload any of your documents that it will use for reference materials when it responds. But there's also one here that says set projects instructions. And what setting project instructions does is it's that context profile we just put together, and anytime you ask it something, it checks with those special instructions and then responds. So what I'm going to do is I just do a left mouse click, and I'm going to highlight that. This text kind of shows up. It's just the default stuff. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste it in. That's not the one I want. We'll go back and copy it so that I have a fresh version of it. There we go. Actually, we'll copy it this way. Hopefully I have it. And then I'm just going to go and paste it in here. Get rid of that part that it was at the bottom. Make sure it's clean at the top. Yeah, so it copied all the text. So I'm just going to make sure that I have the profile that's there. Now, when that's done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I save the instructions. Now, if I go to make any kind of task, I start asking it about building a syllabus, creating marketing emails, organizing lesson plans, creating checklists, downloads, PDFs, anything that I ask it to do now, it's going to look and run that particular instruction beforehand. Now, I'm not sure of something, so I'm going to double check here. One of the things that when I copied and pasted it, you see this information at the top? This is called Markdown. I'm pretty sure this is Markdown. And what it is, it's the way that ChatGPT and a lot of the AI tools know formatting, like which is a paragraph, which is a bullet point, which is a headline and stuff. So this one's got all the Markdown with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete it just to be safe, and I'm going to just copy it manually so that it goes in cleanly, and I only get the parts that I want. So let's copy that one now, put it in, and again, I'll paste it. There we go. That's a little cleaner. And I'm going to save the instructions. So this is just a nice way to make sure that every time you're doing any kind of work for creating your educational content, any part of your education business, you're going to have blinders on, for lack of a better word, or be able to focus any of the responses that you get from ChatGPT to work from that same plate with the same options and give you back the meal that you're asking for, that's only the meal that you like, the way that you like it to be served, instead of having to ask the waiter 50 times, no, that's not what I wanted, or no, I like that hotter, or I like that colder, or so it just saves a bunch of time and makes sure that you get better response. So I hope you enjoyed this session. Again, this is just an example of something that you can use to save yourself some time. You don't have to use it, but it's a good idea to take the stuff that is generated in there and use it in the chats, because the more context you add, the better responses that you get. So again, if you haven't already, trainingsites.io, like and subscribe. My name is James. Just here to help you start, build, and grow your education business. So take care and expect the best. We'll be back tomorrow with another great video.